What if one of Africa's most turbulent nations tried to build the continent's boldest city without waiting for anyone's permission? The stakes could not be higher. Success might inspire a continent and tilt history. Failure would confirm every doubt cast by the outside world. In the heart of war-scarred Burkina Faso, Captain Ibrahim Traoré is making an audacious promise. He is not only talking about breaking free from foreign dominance, he is plotting an entirely new city bearing his own name, meant to stand as a monument to African pride and self-determination. Picture a country battered by poverty, conflict, and decades of outside influence. Now imagine its leaders wagering everything on a dream that sounds impossible to most. Traoré's city is not just a cluster of buildings, it is a statement. Burkina Faso will rise by its own hand, whether or not the world approves. So who is Captain Ibrahim Traoré, and why does his radical vision ignite both hope and fear in equal measure, from Ouagadougou to Dakar and beyond? To understand this city, we first have to understand the man and the nation behind it. This project is a direct challenge to every old rule. It dares to reach higher, dream bigger, and do it all in the face of suffocating odds. For supporters, it is a beacon, a chance for Burkina Faso to lead Africa toward true independence and prove that a nation can seize control of its fate. But if it fails, the cost will be severe: ridicule from abroad, economic collapse, and shattered hopes that could haunt an entire generation. To understand the origins of this high-stakes gamble, we must look at the man behind the vision and the forces that shaped both him and Burkina Faso itself. Burkina Faso sits landlocked in West Africa, its landscape marked by hardship. More than 22 million people call it home, yet for decades, the country has been defined by struggle, poverty, conflict, and a grinding reliance on foreign aid. In the eyes of the world, Burkina Faso has too often stood for survival rather than hope. In late 2022, Traoré led an audacious coup. For the restless youth of Burkina Faso, his rise was electrifying. They saw in him a chance for genuine change, someone who rejected empty promises and the spectacle of politics. Traoré's leadership style was direct. He prioritized action, kept his word, and showed himself where others hid behind security. Yet Traoré's ascent was about much more than just his personal approach. It signaled a groundswell among young Africans, frustrated by the enduring grip of neocolonialism. For generations, foreign interests had shaped Burkina Faso's fate, steering resources and decisions from afar. Traoré's emergence offered a sharp break from that legacy, giving voice to millions yearning to reclaim their country's future and chart a new course. Overlooking the source of Traoré's vision is to miss a deeper, generational tremor, one that might not only transform Burkina Faso, but also redefine what African leadership means in this new century. But beneath these struggles, something unexpected was stirring. Captain Ibrahim Traoré, born into modest circumstances, climbed the military ranks quietly. He earned respect not with grandstanding, but with integrity and a rare closeness to ordinary people. In a region where leaders often drift far from the public, Traoré walked among villagers, listened in crowded markets, and even appeared on the front lines of conflict. Power, for him, was not a distant prize, but a responsibility. So, what is this city, and why might it disrupt everything we believe about African development? Picture a capital that rewrites Burkina Faso's narrative, a futuristic metropolis rising from the Sahel, demanding the world's attention. To answer that, we have to look at the daring plan itself, a city built from the ground up, funded by local hands, and designed to serve Burkina Faso's own people, free from the strings of foreign donors. The scale is staggering. The projected cost? 320 billion CFA francs, well over $500 million. For a country with a gross domestic product of barely $20 billion, this is a leap into the unknown. At its heart stands the 35-story Burkina Tower, poised to become the tallest building in West Africa. Around it, 15 more high-rises push upward, flanked by hundreds of sleek apartment blocks, bustling commercial centers, well-equipped hospitals, public schools, and lush parks crisscrossed with solar-lit paths. The entire city pulses with energy from sprawling solar fields managed by smart grids that promise efficiency and resilience. This is a statement as much as a city. Jobs are reserved for Burkinabe workers and African companies. Decisions are forged in Ouagadougou, not dictated from Paris or Washington. For once, the design and the dividends are to stay local, giving the nation a rare chance to shape its own future. Yet, unlike so many grand African projects, this city's funding is homegrown. No loans from Western banks, no strings from foreign donors. Instead, local taxes, personal savings, and regional African investment funds drive every phase. Each franc is meant to circulate within Burkina Faso or its neighbors, not vanish into distant financial capitals. Is this a visionary leap or reckless ambition? Burkina Faso and the world hold their breath. This is more than an address. It is a wager against the realism that outsiders have long prescribed for Africa. The idea is that Burkina Faso can jump boldly forward, not creep along, even as conflict and hardship remain just beyond the city's edge. But the vision reaches further than glass and steel. This city is built for sustainability. Buildings blend green architecture, vertical gardens, rooftop solar, thick insulation to slash energy demand. Water recycling plants are planned for every district. Affordable homes for middle-class families are promised. Electric buses, smart cycling lanes, and shaded walkways all knit together a city where clean energy and livability are not afterthoughts, but core principles. The risks are enormous. Should these promises outstrip delivery, cynicism could deepen, and resources could be squandered. But if even half of this vision is realized, it could set a new benchmark for African cities and inspire millions across the continent. The larger the dream, the harsher the awakening. And now, the questions multiply. But behind the blueprints and political speeches, the city's fate will be decided in more intimate, everyday struggles. For those tasked with building and one day living in this new capital, the dream collides with reality. Burkina Faso remains locked in conflict. In the north and east, insurgencies displace tens of thousands, forcing families to flee with only hope and grit. The military, exhausted and outnumbered, must defend fractured borders and somehow create islands of safety, all while resources grow thinner by the day. Beneath the debates, another tension simmers, the question of identity. Traoré's choice to name the city after himself unsettles many, stirring whispers of ego and legacy. Is this a unifying gift to all Burkinabe, or the planting of a personality cult, one man's ambition etched in concrete, financed by the hopes of millions? Detractors insist every franc, every ounce of will belongs to the front lines and wounded communities. For them, building a glittering city now is reckless, a wager on the nation's future at the worst possible hour. Yet supporters see a different story unfolding, a refusal to yield, a bold testament that even under siege, Burkina Faso dares to dream anew. The figures alone are staggering. The city's cost will reach hundreds of billions of CFA francs, a sum that could swell with inevitable delays and unforeseen hurdles. For a nation balancing on the edge of insolvency, with so many urgent wounds to heal, such a gamble could easily become a burden too great to bear. Yet even as doubts swirl, the bulldozers roll and plans advance. The world watches, waiting to see if Burkina Faso can truly remake its fate. There is also the risk of deepening divides. As skilled workers and capital stream into the new city, rural towns may be drained of talent and promise, widening the gulf between those who gain and those left further behind. Will this bold experiment lift the nation as a whole, or simply redraw the map of inequality? The stakes are existential. Should Traoré's vision collapse, it could shatter not only his own standing, but the wider dream of African nations forging their own destinies. It could set back the cause of self-reliance and give ammunition to those who claim Africa's ambitions are always doomed to disappointment. And the ultimate measure awaits: delivery. If the city cannot provide real hope, decent homes, good jobs, reliable clinics, it will not shine as a beacon, but stand as a monument to dreams betrayed. For many Burkinabe, this is not about grand designs, but whether daily life will actually improve. Beneath the headlines and high drama, one question cuts through the noise. What lesson can every African city and every watcher draw from this audacious experiment? At its core, the new city is a living laboratory. Here, artificial intelligence will direct traffic, manage water, and stretch resources further than ever before. Vast solar fields and battery arrays feed the grid, signaling a bold break from fossil fuel ties. This is not just technology for its own sake. It is a model meant to reset what is possible for African smart cities. Ambition meets urgency. The city's completion is set for just 5 years, a timeline so compressed it would challenge even the world's steadiest economies. This is more than a deadline. It is a public test of whether African resolve and skill can match or even surpass any global benchmark. Yet the vision extends far beyond Burkina Faso. This city is designed as a regional beacon, a spark meant to light new projects across borders. Success here could unlock a chain reaction. African cities built by Africans, for Africans, with local priorities leading every decision. But innovation here goes deeper than circuits and code. The most radical move is a commitment to local hands and minds. From the first brick to the final bolt, nearly every job is given to Burkinabe builders, engineers, and trainees. Instead of relying on expensive foreign advisors, new expertise is being forged on the ground, pushing back against a long history of wealth and talent draining out of Africa.
But can such a vision survive its first real crisis? The next chapter will reveal whether hope and ambition are enough to overcome old obstacles.
Can one city, rising from grit and hope, rewrite the story of an entire continent? Independence, though, comes with a sharp edge. By turning away from Western contractors and tech, the project limits its access to proven systems and the latest tools. New partnerships, especially with non-Western allies, are still unproven. The risk of technological isolation is real, and early missteps could echo across the region. Still, the blueprint is not just for infrastructure. It is for community. Libraries, digital learning centers, and gathering spaces will anchor daily life, aiming to unite people, foster pride, and heal wounds from years of conflict. This city is meant to be more than a symbol or a skyline. It must become a true home. The stakes could hardly be higher. If this bold experiment delivers true skills, lasting jobs, and a sense of ownership, it could become a model for the entire continent, proof that African cities can claim their own destinies. But if it falters, it risks becoming a warning, a narrative of overreach and costly isolation that feeds the very doubts it set out to destroy. No one can promise that this leap will soar rather than stumble. Yet the act of reaching transforms what seems possible. For Burkina Faso, for Africa, and for a generation hungry to build rather than beg, the result of this experiment will echo for decades. But here and now, in the heart of West Africa, a new generation refuses to accept the boundaries imposed by history. This city is a living experiment, equal parts risk and hope. It stands as proof that leadership can be young, local, and unapologetically ambitious. It is a direct answer to decades of slow progress, the cycle of aid and dependency, and the doubts that have long haunted African futures. As the dust settles and foundation stones find their place, Captain Ibrahim Traoré's city stands as far more than concrete and grand ambition. It is a living challenge to everything believed possible for Burkina Faso,
for Africa, and for the countless young dreamers watching from afar. This is a nation scarred by decades of adversity and bound to the shifting interests of foreign powers. Now, it dares to imagine a future shaped by its own hands.
The question remains, is this the spark of an African renaissance or a mirage, dazzling but fleeting? Only time and the courage to keep dreaming will decide.
At stake is not merely the price tag, already stretching into hundreds of billions of CFA francs, nor the promise of shimmering skyscrapers. The real gamble is over identity, dignity, and the right to define one's own destiny. If Traoré's vision succeeds, it could spark a domino effect, showing African youth that prosperity does not require permission or charity from outside. If it fails, critics warn, the fallout could cement a painful narrative that boldness brings only risk, and African dreams must remain small. But let us go deeper, because understanding the magnitude of Traoré's project means seeing it within the vast tapestry of African urban dreams, the stories of cities that have risen or fallen on the continent, and the global history of visionary capitals. Or look to Dodoma in Tanzania, a capital moved by Julius Nyerere's socialist vision. Dodoma was meant to pull the nation's heart away from the coast, decentralizing power and opportunity. However, decades of slow progress and resource shortages meant the city struggled to fulfill its promise. The lesson? The path from blueprint to bustling city is fraught with setbacks, delays, and hard choices. Consider Abuja, Nigeria's planned capital, born in the 1970s from the ashes of political strife and ethnic division. Abuja's purpose was clear: to unite a fractured nation and symbolize a new era. Decades later, it stands as a testament to what is possible, yet its gleaming towers cast long shadows over those left behind. Urban poverty, traffic, and inequality endure, reminding us that even the most ambitious city projects must wrestle with reality. Now, Traoré's vision echoes these histories but pushes further. He is not just moving an administrative seat, he is attempting a total reimagination, the creation of a city that stands as a rebuke to both colonial legacy and the incrementalism of past African leaders. His commitment to local finance is a sharp departure from the dependency on international lenders that shaped so many earlier projects. Concrete examples of what might unfold abound. Imagine a Burkina engineer, trained in Ouagadougou, who once would have left for Paris or Abidjan seeking work, now supervising a crew of apprentices laying fiber optic cables for the city's smart grid. Picture a woman from a remote village, previously excluded from formal work, now employed in a solar panel assembly plant, sending money home and inspiring her daughters to dream bigger. But history also warns us that the risks are real. In the 1980s, Côte d'Ivoire poured hundreds of millions into the construction of Yamoussoukro, complete with the world's largest basilica. The city never achieved its intended status, and the nation's debt swelled, constraining future growth. In Angola, the Chinese-built city of Quilamba rose rapidly, but sat empty for years, its apartments priced far out of reach for ordinary citizens. These are not fantasies. They are the stories that could define a generation if Traoré's model succeeds. In South Korea, the post-war construction of Seoul satellite cities transformed rural poverty into urban prosperity within a single generation. In Rwanda, the government's focus on Kigali as a clean, efficient, and tech-forward city has made it a magnet for African entrepreneurs. Both cases show that bold projects can, under the right conditions, lift millions. Traoré must avoid these pitfalls. Practical steps are being taken: phased construction, rigorous audits, and citizen participation in planning to ensure that the city meets actual needs. The government is launching training programs so that local workers can master advanced construction techniques. Partnerships with universities aim to create a pipeline of engineers, architects, and planners who understand the city's vision from the ground up. The city's planners have also learned from past failures. Instead of building luxury towers and hoping the economy will catch up, the new city promises a full spectrum of housing, from subsidized homes for displaced families to mid-range apartments for the emerging Burkina middle class. Community clinics and schools will be built in the earliest phases, with a commitment to open doors as soon as the first residents arrive. Security is another challenge. To ensure that the city does not become a fortress for the privileged, planners are incorporating community policing, neighborhood watch programs, and rapid response centers. Lessons from cities like Bogotá, which lowered crime through urban design and community engagement, are being studied and adapted to the Sahelian context. Internationally, Burkina Faso is seeking technical partnerships with countries like Morocco, which has pioneered affordable solar energy, and Singapore, famed for its efficient urban planning. By blending African innovation with global best practices, Traoré hopes to leapfrog old limitations. Yet, the practical hurdles loom large. Financing must be reliable and transparent, every franc tracked, every contract audited. To avoid the fate of many megaprojects, the government has established an independent oversight board, including members of civil society and regional experts. Quarterly progress reports are to be published and public forums held so that citizens can hold leaders accountable. Imagine, 5 years from now, a morning rush in Traoré City. Electric buses glide quietly along tree-lined boulevards. Solar-powered streetlights blink off as the sun rises, and children cycle to digital learning centers where they access lessons shared with students in Accra and Nairobi. Markets bustle with traders selling homegrown produce, while tech startups pitch new ideas to investors in glass-walled incubators. These are the scenes that Traoré supporters dream of making real. But the most crucial ingredient is trust. Will ordinary Burkinabé believe that this project is for them, not just for elites or for Traoré's legacy? To build this trust, the government has launched participatory budgeting sessions, where citizens propose and vote on neighborhood projects. Young people have been invited to design city parks, and women's groups are leading efforts to plan health clinics and schools. The city's digital backbone is being built with an eye toward inclusion. Free Wi-Fi zones are planned for every district, and a coding academy will open in the first year, targeting youth who might otherwise be swept up by unemployment or instability. In partnership with local NGOs, microfinance programs are being rolled out to help small businesses set up shop in the new city, ensuring that prosperity is shared widely. Even as cranes rise and roads are paved, the city's symbolic power radiates beyond Burkina Faso's borders. In Mali, young activists are studying Traoré's approach, hoping to spark similar homegrown initiatives. Across West Africa, debates rage in university halls. Is this the future or a dangerous gamble? Regardless of the outcome, the conversation has changed. Africans are no longer waiting for permission to dream big. For those living through these changes, the stakes are personal. Consider Awa, a mother of 3 from the embattled north who lost her home to insurgency. She now lives in temporary shelter on the edge of Ouagadougou, but dreams of moving into a new apartment where her children can attend safe schools and she can find steady work. Or Issa, a mason who once struggled to find construction jobs, now training to become a site supervisor as the city expands. Their stories will determine the city's true legacy. If daily life truly improves, if children have access to clean water, if parents can find work, if communities feel safe and proud, then the city will have succeeded where so many before it stumbled. The journey is just beginning. As the first students walk into new classrooms, as families move into freshly painted homes, as the lights flicker on across a city born from hope, the continent will be watching and learning. In the end, Traoré's city is a question posed not just to Burkina Faso, but to the world. Can a nation battered by adversity refuse to accept its assigned fate and instead build a future on its own terms? If the answer is yes, the impact will ripple far beyond the Sahel. The path ahead remains steep. Inflation, supply chain disruptions, and political instability could derail progress at any phase. Critics are watching for any sign of failure, ready to declare the project a vanity scheme. But supporters draw inspiration from history's great leaps. From the rebuilding of Berlin after World War II to the rise of Dubai from desert outpost to global metropolis in a single generation. Will the city rise as a beacon for African self-reliance, or serve as a cautionary tale for dreamers everywhere? The answer will take years to emerge, but for now, in the heart of West Africa, a new story is being written. And perhaps, in the echo of hammers and the laughter of children playing in a city that did not exist a few years before, the world will witness the birth of an African renaissance, one built not on permission, but on pride, perseverance, and the unbreakable will to rise.